Well, last night, Dominic Reyes got put on his back by Carlos Ulberg, and this fight just shattered my heart into a million pieces. I'm most likely going to resort to alcoholism by the end of this video, and honestly, I can't even say I'm surprised this fight turned out how it turned out. Like, I wanted Dominic Reyes to win, but I knew that Carlos Ulberg was just so incredibly dominant, he just wasn't going to let Reyes get the upper hand in this fight, and that's exactly what happened. The knockdown from Carlos Ulberg was clean. I'll really give him that. It's nothing highlight crazy to go over, it's nothing that you should put on the fridge with a magnet, but honestly, I think that's how most knockdowns should be in the UFC. I feel like most of them should just be clean, nice strikes that don't necessarily need to be put on Dana White's Instagram to be classified as good. This loss is incredibly hard to see. I mean, a lot of people, including me, have been following Dominic Reyes even before the Jon Jones fight, and to see him lose like this against a high-level competitor, it really does suck. Now, before I yap on about Dominic Reyes, I'm gonna go ahead and say that Carlos Ulberg definitely deserves a title shot after this fight. Now, obviously, who wins this fight against Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira determines who Carlos Ulberg is going to fight next. But how I think this is going about, depending on who wins, is if Alex Pereira defines the odds and beats Magomed Ankalaev, he'll go after Carlos Ulberg for his first title defense. And if Magomed Ankalaev wins, he won't go after Carlos Ulberg first. I feel like he's going to go after the winner of Yuri Prohaska and Khalil Roundtree, and then he'll go after Carlos Ulberg. And Carlos Ulberg is a bit of an anomaly in my mind, and I say that because he doesn't necessarily throw all that much, but when he does, he's just incredibly explosive. He's just got a lot of power inside of his hands. The title fight that he'll have against Ankalaev or Pereira, depending on whoever wins this thing, I think that it's going to be an absolute banger of a fight. Alright, so now that we've talked about Carlos Ulberg and what's next for his future, let's go ahead and talk about Dominic Reyes. Now, in my mind, I don't necessarily think that he's washed. The closest that he ever became to becoming washed per se was when he got knocked out by Ryan Spann, and he went on a 3-fight knockout win streak, and then he went up against Carlos Ulberg and then got decimated. And if you guys want my honest opinion, which you probably don't, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I feel like Dominic Reyes needed one more fight, like one more knockdown under his belt before he went up against Carlos Ulberg. And the reason I say that is because one of his 3 fights in his win streak was against Anthony Smith, and you guys know my opinions about Anthony Smith very, very well, and if you don't, then go ahead and watch this video right here where I talk about Anthony Smith. But yeah, Anthony Smith is just an easy guy to beat in my mind. Dominic Reyes is a great fighter. He's not Anthony Smith level material, I'll definitely say that. Like, adding Anthony Smith to your win column is an accomplishment for sure, but it's not that much of an accomplishment, especially when you manage to defeat Jon Jones out of all people. Look, Dominic Reyes has been in the fighting game for a while, and that definitely gives his opponents a lot of time to analyze his skills and what he can do in the fight and what his style is. And what Dominic Reyes' style is that he waits for that opening and then he just goes in. And Carlos Ulberg, he just wasn't going to let that happen. He pressured him, and then that's where Dominic Reyes started to get a little bit anxious. He started overthrowing, and then Carlos Ulberg just went in there for the knockout. In my mind, I feel like Dominic Reyes' next fight should probably be against somebody like Johnny Walker. I feel like this is definitely going to be a fun fight. It's 2 fighters that a lot of people love. Johnny Walker, just a very goofy guy, defied the odds whenever he went against Zhang Mingyang and just put him on his ass. A lot of people were thinking that Zhang Mingyang was just going to put Johnny Walker out. He was going to put him into a coma, turn him into mashed potatoes, but that obviously wasn't the case. Now, my end takeaways from this fight is that honestly, it just is what it is. I can't necessarily say that I'm surprised. I felt like Carlos Ulberg was definitely going to win against Dominic Reyes in some way or another, and it's not to say that I don't like Dominic Reyes. I think that he's a great fighter, and I wanted him to win. I wanted Dominic Reyes to win. I feel like a lot of people wanted Dominic Reyes to win, but it's kind of like that thing where you got the fan favorite going up against an absolute machine, just an absolute all-around decimator. We saw this with Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira. We wanted to see Ilia Topuria go down. We wanted to see Charles Oliveira maybe get a submission. But obviously, Ilia Topuria just knocks down Charles Oliveira, turns his brain into mashed potatoes. And that's just one of those things, man, where you got the fan favorite guy everybody loves, and then he goes up against an absolute just machine of a guy and then just gets knocked down, and then just the sadness comes in, and then just the cycle repeats over and over with all these different fights that come in the UFC. And yeah, that's just my honest takeaways from this fight. I don't think Dominic Reyes is washed. There's definitely a lot of other fighters that he could go up against in the light heavyweight division, but I don't necessarily see him fighting for the title anytime soon. And yeah, that's just my end opinions. My name is Insomnia MMA. I'm gonna go down some whiskey to drown my sorrows away, and I'll see you guys in the next video.